So this is the good stuff. So first of all, for anyone who doesn't know, pro forma financial statements are basically regular financial statements, except they're for future periods rather than past periods. So it's very important for any business in the planning stage to have a well thought out pro forma, because ultimately you're in the business for making money, and that's your plan on how you're going to do it. So it's very important in cannabis because, one, the margins are a lot slimmer than a lot of people realize, but also many of the states in their application process require the business plan, the pro formas, pretty much everything you could possibly imagine in order to obtain a license. And so these states are looking for both the viability of your business and the economic impact on the area, and your pro formas are the best place to get that information.
Is a pro forma like an SOP, or is that just like your books?
No, it's basically the books. It's where you see your financial position moving in the upcoming years. So it will look the exact same as past financial statements, where you've got an income statement, a balance sheet, a cash flow. Although instead of it saying year-end 2019, it'll say year-end 2020 to 25.
Right.
It's extrapolating whatever information you have, whether it's your past business financial condition, or if you're new business, a bunch of underlying market assumptions that kind of lead you to believe why you think you're going to be making that amount of money.
Yep. And that is something that's so very, very important, because a business plan is always included in every type of application that you have. And then they're going to grade it, or it has to at least meet that industry standard that like Arizona would set, so you can get into the lottery. And from that, how can you tell and demonstrate to the state that you actually are going to be able to afford this business and it will cash flow unless you have a pro forma? But Jim, let's talk about the assumptions. What are some of the assumptions that go into a pro forma?
Well, basically, for every single line item on any financial statement, especially pro formas, you have to explain why you think you're going to have that number. So we'll just take sales, for example. That's a very top line item. The number you put on for sales, that's not a goal or a guess, or the number you need to make in order to be profitable. You're starting with, the market population, the marijuana consumption in the area, the product consumption in the area, and you're taking data points and moving that into that sales figure. So a lot of assumptions like that go into the pro formas for sales and for all the costs. It's important to think about what kind of costs you'll be having that are overhead versus variable. So for example, if you're starting a new business, you buy a building, that's either the mortgage, or if you buy it outright, that's a flat cost you can expect. Whereas the cost of your inventory, if you're a dispensary and you're buying a bunch of flower from a cultivation, the sales and the cost of sales are going to be very directly correlated. So it's kind of identifying what expenses are not moving, what expenses are moving, and what expenses are more discretionary, like marketing or something like that.
Does one get a pro forma before they open doors, or does like the pro forma kind of grow with them? Yeah.
Long before they open the doors. So the first thing, obviously, if you're creating a new business, haven't opened the doors yet, you're pitching to investors, you need to show them why they should be investing in you. So you've got a very robust business plan that's pretty much your map of the next few years. They'll tell people, including yourself, how you plan on getting from where you are now to where you want to be, how much money that's going to take, and the steps along the way. The pro formas are just the financial reflection of that. So in a good business plan, it's going to have a very built out narrative that can tie all the goals and expectations and procedures that the company will be doing. It can tie that into the financial aspect as well, and properly explain it to any of the readers that maybe are not numbers people. So this is something that's done long before the doors open and will constantly change.
Yes. What can you also use a pro forma to establish a valuation of the business as a concern for purposes of setting allocations for membership interest or stock interest in a particular company, maybe a cannabis company that you're thinking of investing in?
Definitely. That's a common way to value businesses, is by looking at the expected cash flow over the next 5 years, or whatever your time range is. And so in doing this, they will usually, the pro formas will flow down to the net income, and what the number is usually used for the cash flow analysis is called EBITDA. It's earnings before income, or before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, some non-cash items. And using that number, they'll add back in certain irregular expenses to kind of stabilize cash flow to what you expect in the longer term. So bottom line is they are looking at the cash flow from year to year as to what they're expecting, and they're just going to discount that to come up with some sort of value.
I imagine pro formas are different for either the grow, the store, whatever you want to be. We got a question. Nicholas Wigger says, where would we get that data? And I imagine also that's where I come to you for, because you're getting all those.
Yeah, but then it was actually just answered. Then the BDSA is one of the data providers that publishes monthly. So if you're a member of the National Cannabis Industry Association, every month you get an email that is the BDSA data. So they publish numbers.
That's one of the best ways to get the market assumptions. Also, for me as an accountant personally, a lot of the stuff I don't have the answer to, but the important part that you should look for in an accountant or any consultant is they know what questions to ask, and they're not afraid to tell you what they don't know. So for example, I'm a numbers guy and I don't know much about the cultivation process. So the important thing to look for if you're finding someone that you want to build out pro formas is that they're asking those questions like, well, what kind of yield do you expect? Why is that a reasonable number? Why do you think that? And they can start to drill into those market assumptions and then explain it and kind of translate it into the financial aspect.